Hi everyone, this is Katie with Ad Shoppers. So we want to welcome you to today's webinar. We decided to do this webinar because we know that there's a strong focus on mobile holidays going in for online retailers, and so we wanted to make sure that we were able to put together a strategy that you guys could take off of and quickly run with. So today presenting will be Bronto, Ad Shoppers, and Visiture, and I'm going to introduce you quickly to our speakers. So today for Ad Shoppers, we're going to be having Chad Ledford, who's our Chief Strategy Officer. He's one of the co-founders of Ad Shoppers and really one of the thought leaders in how to really perform well for on-site mobile performance. And from Visiture, we have Ron Dodd, who's the Chief Executive Officer. And from Bronto, we have one of the Senior Commerce Marketing Analysts, Greg Zagatzwitz. So today, I just want to kind of go over the summer really quickly. We're going to be talking about really the best ways to have SEO on mobile performance. Ad Shoppers will be covering a better mobile UX design on site and how to talk through some campaigns that you guys can do there. And Bronto is here to really touch on and give expert advice on how to design and really accomplish what you want to do for your holiday message goals. So as we go through it, I'm sure you can see on the panel beside there's some questions. So if you guys have questions as things are going on throughout the webinar, please feel free to post there. We'll get to a Q&A after the webinar is done. Definitely want to encourage social sharing as well, so feel free to tweet out if you guys have any questions there or would like to learn more about something or want to share as the webinar is going. And then we will also have a recorded version of this webinar after it's done to be posted probably tomorrow. So with that, we'll let Ron take over and we'll kind of start introducing the companies, give you a high-level overview of what we do. That way we can go ahead and get into the mobile holiday plan for this holiday season.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Hey, everybody. This is Chad Ledford. As Katie mentioned, I'm one of the co-founders here at Ad Shoppers. So first, we're going to give you a quick overview of the three companies in case you're not familiar. I promise this is going to be super short, 20 or 30 seconds each. So on the Ad Shoppers side, really what we do is power on-site marketing. So that little graphic that you see over on the right now, if you as a marketer wanted to distribute a customer experience on your site, so if you wanted to launch something like a referral program or if you wanted to launch a contest on your site, it's really hard to get those things done. And essentially we make it way easier for you as the marketer to own that on-site marketing as a channel. Next up, we've got Visiture.
Hey everyone, so Visiture, we've been around for 10 years and we are a unique boutique. We only do search engine optimization and paid search management for e-commerce and related businesses, and small boutique shop, 20 people out of Charleston, and that's it.
And thank you, everyone. Bronto Software, we are a commerce marketing automation platform originally built as an email service provider. Currently, we're the Internet Retailer Top 1000, #1 provider. And we can do everything from sending emails to professional services in-house, running shopping cart abandonment, browse abandonment campaigns, everything kind of built natively into the platform itself. So whatever your email marketing or commerce marketing needs are, we can likely fill those positions for you.
All right, so we promised to keep that part short. So now I'm going to pass it over to Ron so that he can go through some things to help boost SEO performance, specifically on mobile devices.
All right, everyone. So I'm going to be talking about SEO and mobile today, specifically mobile SEO. And I'm going to be talking about 3 new things today. I'm going to leave each one of you with kind of a game plan tip at the very end of it, basically how to optimize for it, and something you can do pretty quickly that will help allow you guys to be better, more successful in organic search for mobile devices. So Google knows that people are switching more to mobile devices. About 50% of people on the internet are using mobile devices, and about 58% of people are searching mobile devices. And Google's come out and said that more people search mobile devices than desktop. So they really are starting to focus on it, and that's what this mobile first index that's coming out soon, it kind of has all the buzz right now. As you know, Google's been trying to get more mobile focused. You see here, this is what Google used to look like and what they're moving towards now, a much more vertical feel. They've gotten rid of the right-hand sidebar ads, and they're making much more vertical, easy to scroll, much more focused on the mobile searcher and giving them a more positive experience. And so what they come out recently, it said, is we're going to do a mobile first index. And what that basically means is in the past, they've always crawled a desktop version to understand what the content is about, and then to put that in the search results based on that. They've had some ranking signals that would influence someone searching on a mobile device, meaning if they didn't have a mobile site or wasn't responsive, someone might rank over them in the mobile results compared to the desktop, but they never really just primarily looked at mobile. So what they basically said is, instead of us looking at desktop versions and putting in the search results based on that, we're going to crawl the mobile devices and put them in the search results based on that. So it basically means if you're using a mobile device and not a responsive version, there could be some hiccups here that could hurt you in the search rankings for mobile and desktop, because Google only uses one index. So if you're using a mobile device, if you're using a mobile site, there's a few things you want to be mindful of. Just to give you some more information on this algorithm update, it's a few months away. It was confirmed by Gary Isles, a Google engineer. If you use a responsive design, you should be fine, but there's definitely things you want to look at and make sure that you're not going to be hurt by this update. There's a lot of talk that they're going to separate out desktop and mobile indexes, meaning there's almost like two Google indexes, but that's just not true. They just kind of do that. It's going to be very much just a mobile first index. And there shouldn't be really that much of an impact, except a few things that I think could really hurt. And the first is if you have less content on mobile. Gary Isles even basically said that they're going to crawl the mobile site. So if your mobile site has less content or hides content compared to your desktop version, Google would basically put you in the search results in desktop with less content. So you want to make sure on your mobile device compared to desktop, your mobile site compared to desktop site, that you have basically the same content. You're not hiding content. If your page speed on mobile is a lot slower, if you've always really just focused on desktop, then you want to make sure that you're focusing on mobile page speed, because mobile page speed could be a ranking signal into the desktop search results. So this could also hurt you as well. And finally, if you don't have schema or structured data on your mobile device, but you have it on your desktop version, this could basically hurt you. So you want to make sure basically on mobile and desktop, you have the same structured data, has the same content, and you're trying to work on your mobile page speed. So it brings me on my first holiday game plan tip. Basically really focus on the mobile device, mobile site, because this is where the market's going, it's where Google's going, and they're really going to be looking at mobile devices, mobile sites much more than ever so before. So make sure you focus on the page speed optimization, the schema and structured data, and make sure that's all marked up correctly on your mobile site, and make sure the content is the same, or you have even more content on mobile device. The second one I want to talk about is the accelerated mobile pages, because this is really where Google wants to go. Google's main two things are, we want to answer people's questions, and we want to answer it as quickly as we possibly can. So accelerated mobile pages is a great way for Google to do that. And if you don't know what it is, it's basically on this right image is a picture of an accelerated mobile page. It basically just takes content and displays it as quickly as possible in a minified format. It's pretty impractical for e-commerce right now to do it. There's actually a few companies that are testing it to try to get products and category pages in an accelerated mobile format. I haven't seen much about it that anyone's been able to do it yet. I'm sure people will do it, in the coming years, but you can do it for long-form content like your blog. So this is something that us as merchants in e-commerce can really do and implement this in our blog. If you're doing content creation and promotion, you can integrate accelerated mobile pages in your blog. If you use WordPress, it's really easy. You install a plugin, it's called AMP, so it's really easy to find, and it's really easy to do. We did it for the visitor site. It didn't take that much time at all. With the right development resources, you could get it done pretty quickly. Shopify, BigCommerce, and all of them should be coming out with plugins to integrate with this as well. So it's a really easy way, and so it brings me to my holiday game plan tip number 2. Integrating your blog with AMP is really easy, and it's going to provide a lot of benefit as years to come as Google continues to experiment with accelerated mobile pages and continues putting a carousel at the top that allows people to select accelerated mobile pages comparative to the regular search results. And now I want to move into my third, and that's mobile UX and SEO really kind of, UX and SEO really coming together. Really want to focus on UX when you're talking about mobile devices. And there's a few reasons why. And what I'm going to do is kind of tell you some trends that Google's doing and how UX is really integrating with SEO. And the reason is Google's able to see how people interact with search results. The first is dwell time. And you might have heard about this, you might have not have, but basically what it does is Google's able to put a cookie in someone's browser and figure out where they're going. And they search certain results and they go to certain web pages and they leave right away. Why would Google want that in their search results? So Google's able to see how people interact with search results, where they go, where they stay on, and display search results based on that. To kind of give you a really good example of this, because this is a pretty good, clear example, this one SEO thought leader liked his stuff a lot. He wrote a really good article, How to Get High-Quality Backlinks Without Guest Posting. Did really well. Obviously, it had like 900 social media shares. It got him a lot of search traffic, but it had a 57% higher bounce rate when he first posted it. And we figured out why. It's because he ranked for how to get high, right? And if you're someone who's searching for how to get high, this is a very terrible piece of content for you to solve your searcher intent, right? So what happened, we saw that he rose in the rankings for how to get high quality backlinks, but he decreased for how to get high and related keyword searches. So basically Google's able to see that, you know, on a per keyword query basis, how people interact with search results, and they display search results in different web pages based on how people interact with them after they search. So the need to focus on this, you know, content and searcher intent is really paramount because Google knows how long people stay on their pages, leave right away, they're going to push us down the search results. So putting things like pop-up ads and forcing them to sign up to, you know, to your newsletter to see content can be really detrimental because people will leave right away and Google will not like that and put you down the search results. And in fact, some of these even create old black hat SEO techniques. And that's actually what Spotify did recently, regrettably, is what they did is to see their content, you had to create an account. And what happened is once they did that and it made a 3-1 URL redirect to a login page to force account creation and see the content, Google basically de-indexed a lot of their pages. And subsequently, they lost a lot of traffic from Google. It's because they're trying to force people to create an account to see content. So if we could focus on the post-click experience and focus on the searcher intent to really give them the content that they want as quick as possible, we can be really successful in organic search. The last one is Aristotle's, which is basically a pop-up. And Google's come on and said that, you know, this is not what we want. We don't want to intrude on people when they go to different pages after they search. And basically, this was even said in their webmaster blog. They said that if you do this, we are going to, you know, they haven't said that we're going to drop you out of search results, but it's definitely going to have a negative impact. And here's some examples of pop-ups and advertisements that they don't want. You can see here, it's basically just pop-ups that are really intruding on someone's experience. If they go to a certain web page and they can't see content right away, you have to sign up for a newsletter. They have to, you know, click X to get rid of this pop-up, or they have to scroll down the page to get rid of a pop-up. It's intruding on their experience. It's not giving them a positive experience. And so that's why Google doesn't want this, obviously. But they recognize you still need pop-ups. I mean, you know, we are businesses in the day, and here's some examples of pop-ups and advertisements that you can have. Anything from age verification, cookies, or, you know, small banners at the top. So they're not against pop-ups. They're just against intruding on people right when they come to a particular web page because it gives them a negative experience. So obviously we need to have advertisements. We need to try to capture them for a newsletter. So my recommendation is if you have those, just make sure it's about 50% down the page. Give people content when they come to your page as quickly as possible to make sure you satisfy their answer. And so that brings me to my holiday gameplay tip number 3. Just follow these good UX and SEO best practices. Focus on the customer experience, post-click. Make sure they have a great experience because the longer they stay, the more Google will reward us. Don't execute any old black hat SEO techniques. These are usually a case-by-case basis, but sometimes it happens. Obviously, Spotify thought it was a really good idea if they force a URL redirect to create an account, but ultimately it's not what Google thought either. And then last, give people content as quickly as possible. Have it above the fold, so right when they go to your mobile site, they see content, they see their answer, they might see the product that they're trying to purchase, and keep those pop-ups and advertisements below the fold in the email newsletter subscribes. And that's it for my game plan.
Awesome. Thanks, Ron. So real quick, just a little bit of housekeeping here. We're going to do a poll that's going to pop up on your screen. And then the question is going to be, what % of your traffic currently comes from mobile? So real quickly, pick one of those. And also, over on the right side, you'll notice a questions bar inside of GoToWebinar. So as we're going through these things, I know a lot of people have really good SEO questions, and a lot of merchants out there get a ton of traffic from Google and the other search engines. So if you have any questions for Ron and some of the things that he covered here, drop those questions in over on the right, and then towards the end, we'll go through more of a Q&A together. And also at the end, we'll come back to this poll result and tell you how everybody voted. So let me switch the screen back over here. All right. So next up, we're going to go through a few customer journeys and how people interact with your e-commerce store on mobile devices, and really what makes it different from how people interact on desktop. So a few stats that we found, and I think everyone hears that mobile is getting more prominent, but what we found is about 400 billion is the amount of business that's going to be spent on mobile marketing by the end of this year. And it continues to grow at a really rapid rate. Everyone in here probably has a phone in their pocket, and that's where you spend most of your time these days. But as a merchant or as a retailer, it's not really where you're getting a lot of your revenue today. So why it's significant? For the most part, your conversion rates are going to be significantly lower. And I would imagine if any of you look in your Google Analytics or your analytics tools, you're going to see numbers that are similar to these. The conversion rate average on desktop is around 4.6, and on smartphones it's around 1.4. So why is this happening? Why is it so much lower? And I think it's really a fundamental reason or a fundamental shift in how customers interact with brands across the different devices. On desktop, and what we're really used to is shorter sales cycles. It's typically search-based, and most people usually have their credit card, pretty easy access to their credit card whenever they're on desktop. But on mobile, they typically have longer sales cycles. It's going to be built more around storytelling and discovery and learning about new brands, learning about the stories behind brands, and why you should actually care about them. It's a more passive way for people to interact, but it's also can be really powerful, and we're going to go through some examples of how we've seen brands do that. It's also easier to get distracted, and usually you don't have your credit card. So on mobile, we did a conference a few months back, and I was quoted as saying that if you're not telling a story with your content marketing, specifically on mobile, then you're usually doing a pretty shitty job. So we're going to show you how you can do a better job of that and how you can start to engage customers on mobile devices a little bit differently than you do on desktop. So whenever we're going through this and whenever we talk about customer journeys, this is the one that most of us are used to. And whenever I say us, I've been a B2C marketer longer than I've been on the B2B side. I've been in the e-commerce game. I had an e-commerce business for about 9 or 10 years. So I understand really well how we used to market on desktops. So if you break out the customer journey on a desktop into these 6 stages that you see here, the first one being awareness, the next one being interest, and then we go through to consideration, purchase, retention, and advocacy. Usually it's built around search. So customers search for what they're looking for, and that's how they learn about a lot of our brands. From there, they find the things that they want, and they start to price shop, or they start to figure out, is this the price range of the thing that's going to meet the need that I have? And then from there, you as the brand marketer, you try to identify who that customer is, usually in the form of a pop-up or some reason for them to interact with your brand. And then customers typically order based off of price or a couple other reasons that they should actually buy from that specific brand. And then on the retention side, our strategy used to be to email people, and as we've all seen, the more we email, the higher response rates that we get from email. So we continue to email people and try to grow that retention number. And then towards the advocacy side, no one has, or most retailers don't really have a strategy around that stage. But as you can see on the desktop journey here, it's really built around answering a question, and the question is what? What do I want to buy? and what does this retailer offer me that some other retailer doesn't. Whenever you look at how customers interact on mobile, the question changes. It becomes more of why. So typically customers are browsing through social media and they see some sort of post or they see some sort of content or news syndication, and that's how they typically learn about new brands. So they're discovering new brands, and then they want to know why they should care about who that brand is. So by the time that the customer gets to the interest stage, your goal as the marketer is really to capture who that customer is and try to get them further engaged with the brand. And then along the same lines as desktop, you're really trying to identify who that individual customer is. But you have to understand that they're not as interested in price comparison. Price shopping on mobile isn't an easy thing to do. They're more interested in why your brand exists, why they should care about who you are, and why they should actually end up buying from you. So based on that discovery mindset, they're trying to figure out how they as an individual associate with your brand. And the way that we see a lot of people doing this now is by posting on social, posting stories or posting pictures of other people that wear similar things on the apparel side, or people that have similar things that are, they're really trying to be associated with more of a lifestyle. And then even on mobile, there's still not a whole lot of advocacy and driving referrals, so there's not a whole lot of strategies there. So just to dive into this a little bit more, let's go through some stories or some specific journeys that we've mapped out on our side. So for this one, we're going to go through Bree and Bree's experience with Madewell. So this is going to be a Fashion Direct example of a brand that's going to reach out to customers or to educate customers on who Madewell is and why they should care about who Madewell is. So obviously this is hypothetical, but let's say that day one, Bree hears about Madewell through some sort of a Facebook ad or some sort of a customer invite. From there, it usually takes a longer time from that very first engagement to get that customer engaged again. So from here, you can see that we just jumped from day 1 to day 10, and now Bree is starting to follow Madewell on Instagram. And then once she starts to actually follow them on Instagram, maybe it's a few days later or a few weeks later or a few months later, but eventually she sees something that really captures her attention or something that really drives her to further engage with Madewell. And then from there, Bree goes to the site, and then she gets an alert about an email that she should sign up for. So kind of similar to desktop, the goal is really getting that person to identify with the story and then ultimately identifying who they are. So she heads to their website, and then she starts to check out a few of the products that Madewell has available. And then let's just say that around day 22, she comes back to the site and notices that they have some sort of a Black Friday promotion. So eventually, Bree places her first order with Madewell, and then Madewell tries to get her engaged so that she continues that feedback loop, and she gets customers referred from within her network, and Madewell can continue telling the story about their brand and get more customers through this type of journey. So as you can see here, there's a lot more stages whenever it comes to mobile. There's a lot more customer interactions that typically need to happen, and for most retailers, there's no real attribution model to be able to track this type of engagement. We found very few retailers that can say, by someone seeing this Instagram post or by someone seeing this interaction, it ultimately led to a conversion. Most attribution windows are limited to 14 or 30 days, and they don't really capture that full customer journey. On desktop, let's go through an example here just so that we have a basis of comparison. And then towards the end here, I'll give you sort of a framework that you can use to start mapping out a few of these journeys so that you can start optimizing for the different types of customer experiences. But for this one, it's going to be me and Bose. So Bose is obviously a manufacturer, and their goal isn't necessarily to get someone to place a conversion on their store. They just want to sell Bose through some sort of a channel. So this is a journey that starts with what? For me, I broke my headphones, so I knew that I needed new headphones. So I did what a lot of people do, and I go to Google and start to search for different types of headphones And you can see that the gap in time here is pretty short. That's why tools like Google Analytics and some of the other analytic solutions out there can easily track these type of customer journeys because the attribution window is shorter, there's less channels that people interact with, but by day 2, I'm searching for headphones and looking for something new. Day 3, I start to check out a few reviews and see what other people have kind of ranked the different things that I wanted to look at. And then around day 4, I subscribe to Bose because I want to learn more about if they have any upcoming offers or why I should actually choose them over Beats or some other headphones that might be out there. Eventually, I placed my order on Amazon because Amazon has the lowest price. So Bose isn't too thrilled with that, but they consider that a win because I did end up going with them. And like a lot of you guys out there, on mobile, it's really easy to place your order on Amazon. So that's not a bad thing if you're a channel merchant like Bose or some of the other brands that sell through channels like this. And then it still gives the brand a chance to engage with customers after they've completed those type of conversions. So in this example here, they're still asking me to become an advocate for Bose. Maybe they want to keep me updated with new product launches and things like that. But you can see that the time between when my headphones broke and the time that I placed my order is usually within a pretty short period of time. In this example here, let's just say that it's 6 days. So one of the keys to really differentiating or starting to optimize these different types of journey for customers is to map it out. We always like to do things in threes. If you do it in 3, it gives you enough segmentation that you can really start to get a good understanding of if segmentation and personalization and things like that are going to work. And it's not too overwhelming that you're trying to map out every journey that a customer could possibly go through. So if you take this approach and you start by looking at the referring source of everything. So if you logged into Google Analytics and you looked at all of the referring sources that you have set up, if you don't have many set up, then you need to work on your tagging so that you can identify more of the sources of where people are coming from. So whether it's Google Shopping or email or your pay-per-click ads or Facebook and social and all of the different channels that you already have set up, be sure that you have that referring source getting passed through. Once you've identified a referring source, identify one really specific goal for each of those sources. If your goal for every channel is to drive a conversion event, then you're never going to be able to optimize some of the higher up the funnel channels like Facebook or Instagram or media buys and some of the other things that kind of build that brand awareness, but it doesn't always lead to a conversion. If you're only focused on the conversion as the goal for every single channel, then you're just not going to be able to optimize those. What you're going to see is that the only things that really drive that conversion event are going to be some sort of email, more specifically like a cart abandoned email because that happens the same day that they place the purchase, or things like retargeting from people that just came from your shopping cart, or even Google Shopping where people already know what they're looking for and they're just looking for the lowest price. So if you're only focused on that as the single goal and your single KPI, then you're leaving a lot on the table and you're not really starting to optimize how customers buy from brands at the end of the day. So if you start with Google Shopping, for example, let's say that we're going to make the goal for Google Shopping email acquisition. So we want to make sure that anyone who's coming from email, we want to capture at least 5 or 10% of the emails from people coming from Google Shopping. And then what we're going to do is use email to engage with those customers in some sort of a holiday promotion or welcome series or whatever your messaging is going to be on the email side to actually get that person to place their first purchase. And then you can really start to use channels like social and Facebook to engage customers, keep them up to date with new product launches, continue telling them the story about your brand, and then ultimately drive some sort of referral or advocacy. So like I said, my suggestion here is to pick 3 journeys. So whatever your top referring sources are, identify one key goal that isn't related to that person placing a purchase, and then start optimizing each of those individual goals and each of those KPIs so that you can really build more of a full funnel marketing plan, not just one that relies on a last click revenue attribution model. So we've got another question here. You'll see this pop up, but are you currently using pop-ups to engage with your holiday traffic? So I'll give you 1 second to go through that part here. And while you're doing that, I'm going to pass over the presenter role to Greg. Okay, so I'll pass that over to Greg. Greg, you should be good to go now.
All right. Still waiting on it. Let me see. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, you're good to go.
Outstanding. So thank you very much for the transition there. So we're obviously talking about a lot of different channels, mobile optimization, and I want to talk to you today about 5 email marketing layouts that, from a mobile optimized standpoint, could certainly help you drive some revenue this holiday season. Before we get into that, just kind of touching on 2 brief holiday trends which have been coming very increasing over the last couple of years, because it really drives how you want to build your emails moving forward, are that shift from standalone days like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, defining the shopping season into more becoming part of the shopping season. So I've been getting Black Friday emails since late October this year, and every single day since November started, even including today. So realizing that is that become Black Friday, come Cyber Monday, come those primary shopping days, or the traditional primary shopping days, you have this fight for attention spans. People have been getting these emails for a long time, so you need to do things that differentiate your emails, be a little more visually appealing, kind of grab their attention at that point. You also have this rise in self-gifting, which also applies to these email designs. So we're seeing a shift from myself buying a gift for someone else during the holiday season to myself buying a gift for someone, and I'm going to pick up something for myself at the same time. And really what that does is change potentially your incentive structure, so tiered discounts, things like that, where you spend more, save more, or the content you want to put in those messages. So recognizing those 2 trends will help shape internal discussions for when you're building your email designs. So moving on, looking at the first design, which is probably the most common design used throughout the course of the year, is just that single hero image email. So in effective email, it is simple and to the point. Really think about times you want to use emails like this without having a lot of pizzazz or a lot of other secondary or tertiary content in there. More straightforward. The design is to get them to open the email within 3 seconds or less, click that email, and get on to what they're trying to do here. Now, within all of these designs, this one renders itself very well to mobile devices because it just scales one image at scale properly. But as you're developing every single one of these email designs, design for mobile first, desktop second. If they're on the desktop, all the power to them, it'll render fairly well. But if it's not rendered well on the mobile device, you're going to lose out there. So this one's a couple different examples. Flash sales, gift guides, very simple to the point, 3 seconds or less, get them to click and move on at that point. Second is very similar concept. You take that initial approach of the single hero image only email, and then you put some secondary content on there. And here's where you can use either specific products or categories of products you want to introduce people to. So it can be gift guides. It can be individual products that might make great gifts, or stocking stuffers. I also have product recommendations for the subscriber as well, and where that is counterintuitive to the gift guide, think about that trend in the industry of self-gifting on the rise. So the email itself might be contained and with the goal of buying a gift for someone, but if you can put specific product recommendations for the user there, you might be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone at that point. So they can buy something for themselves and also get enticed to buy something for someone else at that point. Now, a very similar concept to that is this extended content section. So as opposed to stacking individual products or individual categories, you're using the full width of the email to highlight those secondary products or the secondary categories. Here, it gives you a little more visual representation and visual creativity. You can use with your messages. If you look at the blue fly example in the middle, they're doing the proverbial S-curve where the image to the left, the next image to the right. But they can do some things with verbiage, integrating that into the actual image itself. But it also allows for a little more white space usage with allowing people to scroll with their thumbs on their mobile phones and drip down from that standpoint. So a really good section if you have a little more context to display in that secondary or tertiary content. Beyond just kind of promoting products and potentially services in the secondary content, the second to last bullet down there, think about value props. So holiday season, extended return policies are something that's becoming much more demanded by consumers. I personally fall into this because my wife's birthday is mid-December, so I'm often buying much earlier, and 30-day return policies might not give me enough time to hold that gift it, wear it, potentially wash it, whatever it might be, and still return something if needed. So it's a great section to not just highlight products, but if you have those additional value adds, use an entire row down there to highlight those value adds for you. Product-only messages, these are becoming increasingly popular, and I think it's just technology is allowing people to do it with very seamless and quick fashion. So this is really just a sales email. Hey, here's some top products or some personal recommendations for the season, and the benefit of these is it allows you to adjust the messaging on the fly. So if you're looking at your revenue numbers for November, December, or just the holiday season, in total you find you're declining a little bit, or your big promotion you thought was going to do great again is a little bit less effective this year. It allows you to turn and burn one of these messages very quickly. Most of the time these things can be auto-generated. I know Bronto, we have a lot of customers that auto-generate these off the product catalog, but it's a really good way just to say, hey, here's some products, maybe last minute gift ideas, we just want you to buy something and send it out there. So use these strategically throughout the course of the year. They could be remails, maybe your second message of a day, third message of a day, if the timing is right for them. But think about, hey, we're not going to try to engage you, we're just going to try to sell you something. And then finally, we have the extended scroll email, and this is really designed for mobile devices more than anything, but people like the thumb scroll. Now, always think about what's going to entice them to scroll. So we want them to go all the way down the message as best possible, 2, 3, maybe even 4 thumb scrolls down. But think about the top of the message as being just as important to the rest. Relevant content above the fold will assume relevant content below the fold. So if you can grab them right away with whatever intro, deals, and gifts there, holiday wish list, how to build a perfect outfit for the season, you can entice them all the way down and maybe build a complete set there. Last minute gift guides, you can see a couple examples here, but this is really to be a little more visually creative, a little more fun, maybe allows you to step outside the box a little bit from a general marketing standpoint for you. So if you utilize a combination of each of these different types of layouts during the holiday season, it'll leave your subscribers with enough intrigue when they open messages that they know they don't just going to open up, they're going to get the exact same thing. Or in the case of a single hero image, if you have a 15% off sale, they're not assuming it's just an image that's saying 15% off. It's going to give them a reason to open message 2, 3, 4, whatever it might be at that point. So at the end of the day, the biggest thing to think about is, does the design of the message hit the goal that you're trying to achieve with the message? If it's a site-wide 30% off sale, the goal is to get them to click through because they know everything's 30% off. You don't need to fill that content with a bunch of other things that potentially distract the user. So think about the goal of the message and design the message to match that goal. If you do that, you'll have a very successful holiday season.
Awesome. So we're going to throw up another quick poll here. And again, over on the right, go ahead and get in any final questions that you have for us. We already have some great questions that we're going to go over here. But final poll, go ahead and click something there, and then we're going to hop into the QA portion. Okay. All right, so let's go through the poll questions real quick. So the first one was, what percent of traffic currently comes from mobile? So over half of you said that greater than 31% does come from mobile now. And I would imagine if we break that out a little more, that some of you are seeing closer to 60 or 70% of traffic coming from mobile. Next poll here was, are you currently using pop-ups to engage with holiday traffic? For this one, over 60% of you said that yes, you are using pop-ups. So the deadline to kind of move away from those as a marketing strategy is going to be January 10th. You can continue to use those, but it's at the risk of Google dinking some of your SEO rankings. The next poll question here was, how many different email variations do you currently have planned for your holiday marketing? For this one, 30% of you said you have more than 6 variations, 20% was 3 to 5, and then 40% was 0 to 2. So thank you for doing the polls. And now we're going to hop into a couple questions here. So first one, Ron, this one's going to be for you. And the question is, how does the AMP side of things impact things like retargeting or executing other marketing strategies on top of the AMP version of the website?
Yeah, perfect. So, and just to disclose, I'm not a developer, but there are a few versions of AMP use from Facebook and Google, and I think a lot of big publishers are kind of choosing between the two. It really shouldn't have that much of an impact because it uses a different, I believe, subdomain to do it. So it's basically, they're only going to see the AMP version if they actually come from a Google search or they come from like the Facebook post. It's generally when the AMP triggers, and then it shows them the minified content. There's still, there's minified content, and then there's the actual version of the web page. So it shouldn't impact it at all with your other marketing strategies unless you use that exact URL in your marketing strategies, and then it would obviously affect it. Good question, Matt.
Awesome. And Greg, this one's going to be for you. So in your opinion, what types of emails do you think perform the best? The ones where it has sort of a single focal point, maybe short form, versus what you were showing a second ago with more of the long form version of an email that has a longer scrolling? What do you guys see and performs better?
I think it's a terrible answer of it really depends, but I think it depends a lot on the industry you're in, the vertical. So are you selling clothing or are you selling $2,000 televisions, right? There's a large difference there. If I had to guess, I would say the majority of the time you're going to be better off with kind of those more simplified messages where people can get in, get out in a relatively quick period of time. Generally what we find though is if you have some of those specific product recommendations, it doesn't mean you need 12 of them in there, but maybe 3, 4, 6 recommended products in there with that hero-only image. So generally bump the performance of that message. So I think for the majority of it, your more simplistic messages ultimately win out. But there might be instances like a more high-ticket item like televisions where you need to have longer content because there's more things to cover. There's more value props, after purchase decisions, FAQs that go along with it. But I think for the majority of retailers, you're going to find that the more simplified content will eventually win out for you.
Okay, great. So I think this one might have been around one of the stats that our team posted. And the question is, do you consider tablet to be mobile, and is that included in the stats that you presented today? So any of the stats that we pulled together, tablet is not included in mobile. We found that tablet conversion rates aren't really that much lower than desktop conversion rates, but mobile is more specific to like an actual phone or an actual smaller device that kind of limits that screen real estate. And I think one of the more important things whenever you're looking at mobile versus tablet and desktop is actually how the customer is connected to the internet. So from what we found, even if you break out mobile devices into customers that are on Wi-Fi versus customers that are on 3G or 4G or some over-the-air type of browser speed, if they're on Wi-Fi, they're probably sitting at home on their couch watching TV, or they're at work. If they're on 3G or 4G, they're probably moving around and they have slower internet speeds. So a lot of people, whenever they talk about mobile statistics, it kind of groups those two together. But what we found is if you segment out mobile into people that are on Wi-Fi and people that are not on Wi-Fi, it really changes the numbers. And then if you can present different messages to those customers, which AdShoppers helps you do, you can say customers that are on Wi-Fi, we want to get that person to a conversion because they're sitting on their couch, they have their credit card. But the guy who's on 3G or 4G, we want to show them a different message that just captures who that person is so that we have the chance to market to them later. So on the mobile side of things, anytime you're looking at those stats, just keep that in mind because there is going to be an impact there. So this one here is going to be for Ron. So referencing the Black Hat SEO tactics, are there other SEO tactics that you either see clients doing or that people should be concerned about or just kind of aware of? What are you seeing on the Black Hat side so that people don't shoot themselves in the foot?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's always a case-by-case basis. There's nothing I can really point out and say definitely don't do this. Obviously, don't make text white. I think it's a general rule of thumb is just don't try to trick the search engines. Don't try to get too cute with it. Just try to display the content as quickly as possible and give people the best positive experience. But the main kind of Black Hat things I've seen is with like backlinking. Trying to optimize your backlink profile and those kind of things, interlinking your pages together. If you have a couple sites, it's not a good practice to link them all together in the footer. Using a do-follow tag, or if your affiliate site, make sure that you're linking to all your commercial sites using a no-follow tag, which is REL equals no-follow. And if you're a merchant too, it's probably best practice to make sure all your affiliates are linking to you using the REL equals no-follow links, because Google has come out and said that they're going to really try to figure out how to bring down the hammer on them.
Okay, great. And we've got a couple more that have come in here, so we're going to do these two. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop those in over on the right. But as of right now, we've got two more. So this next one here, this is going to be for you, Greg. So in your opinion, actually wrong question. So you mentioned that consumers are buying for themselves much more than they did in the past. So how does that impact the discounts that people are offering during the holiday season?
Yeah, it's a great question. I briefly alluded to it before, so someone probably picked up on it very nicely, where, think about things that could be free or beneficial to the purchaser who is buying for themselves as well as others. So I mentioned tier discounts earlier, so that some people call them choose your own discounts, but there's those three thresholds, right? 10% off, 50 or less, 15% off, and that middle threshold, and over 150 you get 20% off. That encourages people to increase their average order value because they're buying for themselves as well. So they're getting a bigger discount knowing they're buying for themselves and someone else. Other small things you can do are things, restaurants are excellent at it, but buy $50 in gift cards and get $10 free to use after the new year. No one ever gifts that $10 free, and everyone who gets the gift knows that they kept it for themselves. But it's a good way, knowing that they're going to come back and purchase from you directly, to try some of those incentives there that get the purchaser coming back. It's something free for them, but they're still getting value out of buying a gift for other people. So those are some general things that have tended to work very well, not only during the holidays, but year-round, since we've been seeing that rise over the last couple of years in self-gifting.
Okay, great. So this last question, I think all three of us could probably have a little bit of an opinion on this one. So Ron, I'll start with you. But regarding the pop-up change that's happening in January and Google trying to get rid of pop-ups, a lot of marketers use pop-ups for email and to kind of get messages in front of customers. The most popular way that I know we've seen it is email acquisition. So what are some things that marketers can look at aside from pop-ups that they can use to increase their email acquisition rate or to help reduce cart abandonment and all the other ways that people use pop-ups? What are some alternatives that you can see people using or that they should explore?
Yeah, I think it just comes back to just Google wants people to not be intruded when they come to a particular web page right when they search, right? So you can have pop-ups, but just put it at the very top as a smaller banner. I think what we'll see is a lot of people will have not a pop-up, but actually insert it in the content if you scroll like a third of the way down. So like you go to a particular web page, you get 3 paragraphs of content, and then you get a box there that says, subscribe here. I think that could be popular. It'd be really unique and interesting if, we could figure out a way if people are scrolling down a category page or a product page and they'd be able to see, a box that would, try to help with cart abandonment or basically getting email newsletters. But I don't think that they're going to go away. I think you can still have them. Just needs to be 30, 40% down, down the page, so you're not intruding on someone when they first come to a page. And I think Google's trying not to get rid of pop-ups altogether. Pop-ups are advertising is still a big part of businesses out there. They just don't want to intrude on someone when they first go to a website. And if you're a consumer like me, I'm always on my mobile device. I'm always going to websites, and I literally have to click the X 4 times before I see content, right? That's just what Google doesn't want. So as long as you're not doing that, you should be fine. And just make sure you don't hit them right when they come to the site.
Okay, great. And Greg, same question for you. How do you see this change affecting email acquisition and building out things like customers welcome series and some of the other ways that people use it today?
Yeah, so I would same point that was just mentioned about having a smaller box at the top of the screen. I think you'll see most people with pop-ups pretty much shoot to that method. I think the two other things to kind of explore are the old-fashioned, and I say old-fashioned in quotes, but the old-fashioned optimized website sign-up, right? It used to be above the fold, all pages, but embedded into the header where you could easily sign up and hit enter. I think retailers that may be shying away from the smaller box top of the screen or just gun shy about the impact of the pop-up altogether should look at re-optimizing that sign-up anyway. So it comes as blast from the past. The other thing to start thinking about as well is how to optimize it being social. So it's kind of in your wheelhouse a bit, but doing things like embedded links on YouTube videos and things like that. So you should be collecting signups from every place possible, and social media, it's not a channel anymore. It's just it's a part of marketing. It's part of people's lives. It's a fabric there. So use those different avenues to collect it as well, and look for the areas where your where your consumer is going to be the most.
Okay, great. And I think I only have maybe one or two things to add to that. I think the biggest reason that we all hate pop-ups is because we have to close it out. So I think you need to look for methods that don't require the person to close something out. And I think that's one of the big reasons that Google doesn't like it, is because before you can read anything, you're almost forced to close it out before you can see any type of content. So really you got to find ways to get messages in front of people or to get those email sign-up boxes in front of people that doesn't force them to interact with it. It's more of an opt-in for them to opt in to your email. So that's one thing. The other part is if you look at how mobile notifications work on your phone, if you're browsing the internet or if you get a text message and things like that, those type of notifications are what people are used to on mobile devices. So look for ways to kind of replicate that sort of an experience that isn't as intrusive. You can kind of make it go away. I know we all get too many notifications, but that's kind of what people are used to as far as getting messages on mobile devices. So that wraps up the webinar. We thank everyone for your time today. This recording will be sent out either later today or early tomorrow. So feel free to forward it to any of your friends or colleagues that you think would get value out of this. And if you have any questions for us, feel free to send us an email. And I appreciate all your guys' time today, and have a good one.